Adding some swing to your music is a really great way of improving the overall vibe of it. And in Ableton, you can actually do what's called extracting a groove, where you take an audio clip, you extract the groove that's inside of that audio clip, like maybe it's a song that you really like the groove of. You can extract it and then you can apply it to your own music. But the difficult part about that is that your rhythms are going to be different from the rhythms inside of your reference track. And so sometimes the hits are going to be pulled and pushed in really odd ways, right? So you can have something like this. And you want it to sound like this. But when you apply the extracted groove, it sounds like this. So today I'm going to show you guys my little trick, my little system that I developed in order to improve the accuracy of the extracted groove so that you can be as creative as you want with your rhythms and still get that consistent groove. So let's take a look. One of the big advantages of using grooves from your groove pool inside of Ableton is that you can apply the same groove to multiple instruments at the same time, and so they can all be kind of bouncing the same way. So if you go to Packs and you go to Core Library, you can see that you have access to this folder called Grooves, and there's a ton of grooves in here. And if you're anything like me, just looking at all of these grooves can be a little bit overwhelming. And so just as an alternative, what I really like to do is to sort of extract grooves from songs that I really like the vibe of. So for example, if you took something like this, I really like how that's kind of bouncing, and so I want to find a way to apply that groove to our sort of basic drums that we have here. Now, as I mentioned before, you can right-click the audio clip and you can go to extract groove, and it will compute the transients inside of this audio clip and then allow you to apply it to your own beat here. So if we did that real quick with this little drum groove that I made, and we go to our MIDI clip here and then select the groove from the drop-down list of the one that we just extracted. See, it kind of sounds a little bit off, and what I'm actually going to do is commit this groove. So you can see that there's two little buttons here right above the drop-down list, and one of them is called Commit Groove. As you can see, when the groove is applied to the MIDI notes, they don't change the timing. It's all just the audio. So if I commit it, you can actually see what's happening inside of the little MIDI notes here. So some of them are kind of getting pulled a little bit more than others because, again, this rhythm is different from the one that we are extracting from. What I really like to do is change the warp mode from complex or whatever you have it on originally to beats. You can see that there's these little arrows here, and that's the transient loop mode. So just make sure that it's on transients, and then I'm going to change it to this very first one, which basically turns transient loop mode off. So every time that there's a transient, it's going to kind of cut off all the information after that. Sort of like turning the sustain all the way down on an attack, decay, sustain, release envelope. So we're going to use this mode and we're going to drag it all the way down. And now, because we did that, this is kind of what Ableton is listening to when it's creating that groove. So we're getting closer and closer to being able to adjust the source in a way that makes it more accurate for our purposes, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is actually apply a little bit of EQ. I just added a pretty steep high pass at about 200 just to get rid of any of the low end information, and I'm also gonna make it mono. What I really like to do is record this version of the audio, so the way that it sounds like this. I'm gonna record this in and just make sure that all of the hits are on the grid that I want. Okay, so if we just if we have a new audio track and we set the input to be resampling, and then we just record the output of this track so that it's, you know, high passed and mono as well. The idea here though is that once we've got just the transients isolated, what we can do is I like to pick the sort of densest part of the groove and just copy and paste it in a row across this little short section here. So if we took this little tiny bit right here, that's kind of the groove that we want, okay? So if I duplicate this all the way across and then I press Command J, and so we'll just consolidate this and call this PM groove, let's say. now what we can do is extract the groove, and instead of right clicking and going to extract groove, we can actually just drag it right into our groove pool here, which is a nice easy way to do it. And it will automatically default to the name of the clip that you've got, which is pretty nice. So now if we go and we use this groove instead of the one that we used with the original audio, let's go ahead and apply that to our drums here. And now what we can do is we can actually just, the really great thing about using the grooves inside of the groove pool is you can kind of reduce this timing if you want to make it less swung. And you can also add some of the original velocity information that we had in our original audio here. Make it more dynamic. So you can hear that the results are much more consistent this way. Another really great resource for extracting grooves is like finding hat loops from Splice or wherever you get your samples from. Like this one in particular I like because it's more heavily swung, and it's kind of nice to have some other options compared to the more loose grooves that we worked with earlier, right? So much more heavily swung. So let's do the same thing. We're gonna go to our beats mode, change this to the first option, drag this down. And then we will record this in. And then now what I'm going to do is let's find that very crucial section where all of the swing is happening. And it looks like kind of just about right here, right? So maybe we could use these two and copy these across. Same thing that we did before, right? Something like this. Then I press Command J. Okay, so now let's call this maybe house hat groove. Heavy. We'll call it heavy. If we just drag this right in and apply this to our non-swung drums and see how it sounds. Okay, so if we apply that groove. So this is much heavier, right? Now I really like the heavier grooves for when you have a little bit more sparse hats, right? So maybe you could take away some of these hats and just kind of yeah, something like that. And then now if we also kind of apply this to our bass as well. Yeah, so we got a nice little groove from that. And the beauty about doing it the way that we did it, where we kind of almost manually extract the groove for more accurate results, is that we can move these hits around and it's not going to affect how the groove sounds, right? So if we kind of move some of these hits around and like we want to move the rim shot here and there. Whereas before, if you moved any of the hits around, it's not going to line up with the way that the groove was extracted. So all the hits would be kind of off a little bit. Of course, everybody's going to have different grooves that they jive with, but I think it's really important to have your own groove presets so that you know exactly what they sound like and they really fit with your style, and they save you a lot of work too. So you don't have to, manually go through and move all the notes at the same time with multiple instruments. And by the way, this also works with audio clips as well. So let me know how it works for you. And until next time, happy music making. We'll see you in the next video. Take care. Peace.